Hey everyone, it's been a while, but I'm back. Welcome to Any Movie Recap, where I try my best to give you a quick rundown of the movie that I'm putting out on YouTube. It's been a while. It's been a long time actually since I posted a video, and for those who watched my other videos and liked, I appreciate it. I am back now with a better microphone this time, so hopefully we shouldn't get any other sounds. Hopefully. Anyways, I hope you all enjoy, and please leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment with a movie that I should do next, and I'll try to upload more frequently. Thanks. The story opens up with a sweeping shot high across the tree line of a lush green rainforest. Intercut is a sequence of images of Jake Sully, a crippled war veteran and former Marine. He wakes up in a giant spaceship on its way to Pandora, a thickly forested Earth-like moon orbiting Polyphemus, a giant blue planet similar to Jupiter. Jake is one of many soldiers and civilian personnel about to touch down on Pandora, some 4.3 light years from Earth. They disembark and take their first step onto the base called Hell's Gate, which is surrounded by a huge perimeter fence. Jake follows them in his wheelchair, earning the nickname Meals on Wheels from a few Marines. Jake goes immediately to a military briefing where Colonel Miles Quaritch is addressing the assembled soldiers and a few civilians who have come along. He reminds them they're not in Kansas anymore, and he tells them about Pandora's indigenous population, the Na'vi. Jake goes to a science lab where he meets two biologists of the Avatar program. As Jake gets his first look at his own avatar, we learn about the program itself. Humans are unable to breathe Pandora's air, but the Avatar program enables a human to link with their own avatar, a genetically bred human-Na'vi hybrid, and function as they were a Na'vi native. Jake and Norm are linked to their avatars for the first time. Jake, in his avatar, wakes up in a different room with other avatars and staff. Within a few moments, Jake is making his handlers nervous because, overjoyed with his ability to move his legs again, he is moving too quickly and trying to walk, the first time he has been able to do so since becoming a paraplegic. When the avatar sleeps, the link is broken, and Jake himself awakens. Jake meets with Colonel Quaritch. The Colonel warns Jake about the dangers awaiting him on Pandora. He also states his belief that the Avatar program is a joke, but that it offers an opportunity for a unique reconnaissance mission. If Jake can find out and tell the Colonel what he wants to know about the natives, the Colonel will see to it that Jake gets surgery he needs to regain the use of his legs. Relinked with his avatar, Jake flies over Pandora's surface in Trudy's gunship, along with Grace, Norm, and others. The team lands in a forest where Grace and Norm begin to take samples of the flora and make measurements. Jake is distracted by his surrounding and wanders into a field of mysterious flowers, which are quite tall and shrink at Jake's touch. Trouble arrives when a heavily armored, hammer-headed creature confronts Jake. Grace orders him to stand his ground and not shoot, or else the animal will get angry and charge. His armor is too thick for guns to have any effect anyway. Jake successfully holds his ground, but only because another beast, a panther-like Thanator, has approached him from behind and caused the hammer-headed creature to retreat and surround their young. The Thanator then turns to Jake. Grace tells him to run, and he's pursued by Thanator in a chase that separates Jake from his crew. He loses his gun and is downed by the animal, but frees himself by releasing his backpack. Ultimately, the chase leads to a waterfall where Jake jumps to safety, leaving Thanator roaring above him. We see Jake sharpening a long stick into a spear. Jake is being watched from above, this time by a Na'vi. The Na'vi aims an arrow at Jake and is about to shoot, but decides against it when a small, luminescent creature lands on her bow. The archer who was observing Jake joins the battle on his side. She kills some of the viper wolves and causes the rest to flee. She tenderly puts out of their misery some whimpering wounded animals and says prayers over them. Jake attempts to thank her for helping him fight off the attackers. She meets his thanks with scorn, tells him all this is his fault, that they did not need to die, and that he should go back where he came from. Jake asks if she feels that way, why did she help him? You have a strong heart, no fear, she explained, but stupid. Jake follows the rescuer, called Neytiri, and she takes him to the home tree. Jake is presented to Neytiri's parents, Utikan and Moat, who are the king and queen of the tribe, respectively. Jake tells the elders that he is a warrior, a dream walker, and his intentions is to learn from them. Jake begins training with Neytiri and bonds with his dire horse, which he has difficulty learning how to control it. Jake reports back to the colonel about the Omatakaya's home, the giant home tree, and underneath it is a large deposit of unobtainium. Sensing that Jake is being manipulated by Quaritch, Selfridge, and the rest of the military section of the mining operation, Grace decides to take her operation out of Dodge. She moves them into the Hallelujah Mountains, a remote region of immense floating islands that are sacred to the Navi and are also rich of unobtainium. Jake must accompany Neytiri, Sute, and 2 other Navi trainees to the highest region of the Hallelujah Mountains. Jake's lack of fear and successful bond with his Banshee earned him the grudging respect of the Navi warriors present, even Sute. Jake attends a Navi ceremony where he learns the Navi believe that every person can be born twice. Neytiri leads Jake to a place of prayer, the Tree of Voices, where they use their cues to bond with the tree. Neytiri tells Jake he can make a bow from the tree, and that he can choose a woman. Jake tells Neytiri that he has already chosen her, and she says that she has chosen him. They sleep together under the tree, and Jake wakes up back in the lab. In the morning, Neytiri awakens to falling trees, then the presence of huge bulldozers. Soldiers are advancing as the forest falls around Neytiri, who is dragging and carrying Jake to safety. At their remote spot, Jake is getting ready to link with his avatar when he finally revives. Jake climbs onto one of the bulldozers and tries to stop it, eventually smashing its camera system and drawing some gunfire. Other Navi warriors arrive, while the colonel, reviewing films back at the base, recognizes Jake in his avatar form as the person who tried to stop their mission. The bulldozers continue their operation, wiping out the sacred ground. Jake and Grace are not welcome back. Neytiri rejects Jake. Both Jake and Grace are bound and left behind by the Omatikaya, who are preparing to fight against the humans, who have arrived in a large fleet of flying ships. The fleet launches gas canisters into Home Tree and the surrounding area. Many Omatikaya are killed. Moat frees Jake and Grace and asks them to save the tribe. Jake arrives and is rejected again by Neytiri when he tries to console her. Neytiri's father, Utikan, is killed by a large piece of shrapnel. His dying wish is for Neytiri to take his sacred bow and assume leadership of their people. Jake and Grace return to their human bodies and are promptly placed under arrest for treason. Trudy arrives at the cell which holds Jake, Grace, and Norm. She dupes their guard by saying she wants nothing to do with them, only to knock out the guard an instant later. As she prepares to flee the base, Grace is shot and wounded by the colonel. The team flies Trudy's ship to the remote lab in the floating mountains, and they take a pod. Jake is an outcast an alien, so he makes a bold decision. He realizes that to regain the trust of the Navi, he has to take things to a higher level. He summons his Banshee and sets off to find Turuk. His strategy is simple but can easily result in death. Jake believes that Turuk never looks for an attack above himself, and thus he can be approached that way. Jake jumps off his Banshee and onto the back of Turuk. We next see him arrive riding the Turuk at the Tree of Souls in the middle of an Amatakayan ceremony. Jake has successfully bonded with the Turuk. Everyone is stunned to see their greatest legend come true. Jake dismounts and makes his way through the crowd of Navi, who, awed, part before him. Jake convinces Moat to help Grace, who is dying. Moat begins the preparation, which involves getting Grace's human and avatar bodies in the place at the Tree of Souls. Before she dies, Grace tells Jake that she sees Iwa. Jake, heartbroken and furious, speaks as Turuk Matau and says it's time to send a message to the Sky People that this is the Navi's land. But to do so, they first must go to each of the Navi clans and ask them to come and fight as one. The human military have picked up the infusion of Navi into the area, from a few hundred to 2,000 within a day. At this rate, the colonel says as he addresses his troops, the Navi will soon total 20,000, at which point their perimeter will be overrun. Rather than let this happen, he continues, they must stage a preemptive attack while they still can. Their plan is to turn a space shuttle into the carrier of a massive bomb. Their target is the Tree of Souls, and the attack is planned for 0600 the next day. They believe that if they destroy the Tree of Souls, the Navi will go away and never come near this place again. Quaritch masses his fleet, mostly as protection for the Valkyrie shuttle. The bomb ship and the fleet move towards the Tree of Souls. Jake, riding the Turuk, is pursued and shot at by Colonel Quaritch's Dragonfly ship. Trudy arrives and opens fires on the Colonel's command ship. Neytiri's Banshee is shot down and killed. Norm's avatar is mortally wounded and he jumps back to his human form. Suste takes on the bomb ship and is killed in the attempt. Trudy dies when her ship is destroyed in the Hell of Gonfire from Quaritch's Dragonfly. Jake and his Turuk take to the sky to confront the bomb ship as the military's ground forces retreat in the disarray. Approaching from above, Jake grenades the bomb ship. It crashes in flames and explosions well away from the Tree of Souls. Jake also throws explosive into vulnerable parts of the command ship. It begins to burn and go down. Colonel Quaritch puts on his amp suit and jumps free off the command ship before it disintegrates into a ball of flames. He finds himself at the temporary camp set up by Grace. In the camp, Jake is inside his avatar pod. Quaritch, set on killing Jake, is now attacked by a Thanator that Neytiri had bonded with and ridden to the site. With the aid of his amp suit, the colonel kills the Thanator and Neytiri is trapped underneath it. Before the colonel has a chance to kill Neytiri, Jake arrives in his avatar. The two engage in combat. The colonel in his amp suit and Jake as his avatar, armed only with a piece of pipe. Jake smashes the suit's plastic canopy. The battle resumes. The colonel now moves Jake closer to him and reaches for his knife, intending to finish Jake by slitting his throat. Suddenly, Neytiri shoots an arrow at the colonel, impaling him through the center of his chest. The colonel, reeling, is unable to continue his attack on Jake. Neytiri's second arrow lodges right next to the first. Human Jake is awake but having difficulty both breathing and trying to get a mask on. Neytiri arrives and helps Jake on with his mask. Cradling human Jake, she says, "I see you." It's the first time they have seen each other face to face. Back at Hell's Gate, most of the remaining humans are being marched into a shuttle to be sent back to Earth. However, a select few Earth people, such as Norm and Dr. Patel, are invited to stay on Pandora. Jake signs off in his final video log, where we learn that he has chosen to transfer his consciousness to his avatar for good. In a ceremony similar to Grace's, Jake passes through the Eye of Iwa and wakes up in his avatar with Naitiri watching over him. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry for my voice, I got the flu, but the next video should be better. I'm learning as I go. So thank you again, and until next time, see you guys. Peace.